Alright guys, you might remember this car from a year and a half ago where it had all the rockers spit off, bent valves. It's here today for what I believe is absolutely no oil pressure after they did an oil change. It sounds like a tractor. Doesn't sound like it has rod knock, but I told him to drop it off. We're gonna bring it in. It's July 4th. I'm not going to let it warm up or anything. I'm just going to throw her in first and get her right in the garage. And we have to brainstorm here because we can't just let it idle to try and figure it out. Oh my God, the seat is so far back. We can't, because the oil light's on. That's the last, I checked it out a few days ago. The oil light's on. It sounds like a tractor. It had cam position on both banks. It can't, there's no oil pressure to move the camshafts. And so I don't know how long they drove it after the oil change, but I know it was quite a few miles. So we're gonna just throw in first. Got it right in the garage. I don't know if you can hear that. That's all I'm gonna do. Oil light is on. It sounds like a tractor. Ooh, that e-brake cable is a little funny. So, how do we want to go about this? The one thing I complained about to him right off the bat, and I see, all right, he changed the oil filter. But supposedly there was no oil getting up there. They had a frame on there. But why would an oil change cause the car to have no oil afterwards? And it's not like the sensor crapped out. It legit sounds like it has no oil. So we're going to have to brainstorm a little bit and think about this before, you got to take off the timing cover. We'll have to drop the oil pan. I'm still thinking I might drop the oil pan to see how much, if any, sparkles are in there. Did the oil pump just suddenly decide, hey, I'm done? I'm going to have to think about it. This is going to be a good one. All right, so I think this is probably going to be the only test that I'm going to do. Remove the oil filter. I want to see if any oil... Remove the filter cap for a better view for you guys. I want to see if any oil is coming up. I also removed the fuel pump fuse, so it's not going to actually try and start, or at least it should. And then from there, I believe we're going to go right down below and remove the oil pan to have a look at the pickup tube. Here we go. Oh, forgot. Alright. So I couldn't see from inside, so I'm going to have to review that video. But judging by what I see, I don't see anything down in there, right? I believe it should come out of here and then gets filtered and drops back in. These newer Subarus, the oil pump is actually built into the timing cover. So this is like an oil galley. And so it goes from the oil filter, goes from the oil pump up, gets filtered, and then it goes everywhere it needs to go. But I think at this point, we're going to drop the oil pan, see if this engine's even worth saving. And then from there, we'll probably remove the timing cover. and then actually have a good look at that oil pump. We know it has oil in it, obviously. That's the first thing we check. It has clean, clear oil. But it beats me why it lost all pressure after an oil change. Wild. All right. So, to remove this oil pan here, we got to remove this header. So, we start with the 3 bolts, well, 3 nuts. That connects it to the rest of the exhaust. And then the 3 nuts there. And 3 nuts there. Plus the O2 sensor stuff. There's 2. At this point, should be ready to pop out. Ooh, she's gonna be stubborn. Why is that? Got everything free. Sorry guys, I dropped it. But anywho. Oh, alright. That came out. Gasket. I'll probably buy new ones. They're cheap, $7. The other side fell out. Should just be able to pull that out. Oh, yeah. And there we have it. One Subaru exhaust pipe. So now, as you can see, we have a lot of room. We may have to lift up the engine. If we do, it's going to be that nut and that one. And we can hoist the engine up a little bit. But at this point, I'm going to drain the oil and remove all these guys. This is factory sealed, so it might be a little stubborn to remove. I'm sure even my work is going to be a little bit stubborn if we actually do get to that point of removing the timing cover. Remember, we did that 1.5 years ago when it came time for the heads. But everything else looks good. No leaks on my end. I'm happy with that. So yeah, I'm going to drain the oil. And then we're going to remove the pan. Alright, so I have a dedicated clean container here. About to drop this oil and see how it looks. Looked okay on the dipstick. I don't know, looks like oil. Looks like dirty oil though. But there is oil. So that pump should be pumping. I mean, like I said, to me it looks decently clean. Like I said, next up is going to be actually dropping this pan here to actually see is there any crap at the very bottom. But I don't know. On camera it looks filthy, but in the light it looks pretty clean. So we'll see what happens. Moment of truth is coming up. So the pan was pulled. All that stuff right there is aluminum. I'm not seeing any brass for rod bearing stuff, but that doesn't seem too promising. And on these newer ones, you can't even get to the rods to try and jostle them without removing this whole upper oil pan plate. So at this point, I still could remove these two guys here for the oil pickup tube. Have a look at the screen here. That's what we wanted to have a look at, was the screen. I never had this oil pan off before, so it was kind of cool to me. It's a little different, a little interesting. But at this point, I gotta get a hold of the client today and see, what do you want to do? Do I try and resurrect this? With all those metal shavings, I really don't want to. So there's our screen. For it to hold that much oil when I popped it out, that's not a good sign. It's pretty bad. I'm gonna clean up. I gotta take some photos and give this guy a call and see what he wants to do. Scrap or replacement engine, or try and just get this thing to go. I don't know. This is definitely a new one for me. What a mess. What a mess. That should have all came down the pickup tube originally, instead of being held up there. So, alright. We'll see what they want to do. This might be the end of this one. So we're back on this Subaru here, and for the hell of it, I decided just to have a peek inside, and I ripped the screen off, and inside, oh God, look at that. This is already what came out of the screen. What is that? It's like somebody dropped a paper towel into the engine. Now, if you watched my video of this car a year and a half ago, we didn't shove no paper towels into no orifices and then put everything back together and let it run. This is something different. But I gotta see, did they put a filter media? I highly doubt that, because it will get clogged over time. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So I finally got the part that was actually, that you saw here. That's literally a cork. Upon further forensic information at this point, that literally looks like a Bounty brand paper towel. Because shop towels are not honeycombed. That is honeycombed. So somebody either was a complete idiot or maliciously did this. So that's where we're at. This was not from a screwed up oil change, or was it? I don't know. I'm gonna call the owner later today and try and figure it out. Cause No, this wasn't lack of, it was lack of oil because this got sucked up. But this was because either negligence or purposely trying to kill this engine. Sorry, guys. Which is ridiculous. So I cleaned up the oil pan. I cleaned up this. I want to put it back together as a science experiment at this point. We should build oil pressure. And it's going to run, but I don't know how it's going to run. But at this point, it's purely for my fun and to let the owner know. I always like to come to the bottom of things. Remember that one EJ motor I did? It had a piece of masking tape. Now, mind you, the EJ's, the screen is right here. So it sucked it up right here and it blocked it off. On these, this one's an FB engine. It sucks up everything through here. And the screen that is usually here blocks it off from going any further. This type of shit pisses me off. It really does. Unreal. Unbelievable. But I'm looking at it. This is... That is straight up just a cheap paper towel. Maybe not cheap because Bounty ain't cheap, but it has the honeycombs like a Bounty. So this is ultimately what killed this motor at such low mileage. Or did it kill the motor? We're about to find out because, like I said, about to put it back together. No screen, but everything's cleared out. Let's see what happens. For the hell of it. Stay tuned. Check it out, guys. No, I did not do a motor swap on this. But when it came to this crap, I've been thinking about it. How did a paper towel, it's got to be a paper towel, just judging by the way it looks, how did that get in the engine? The only way I can think of is somebody had a piece in a funnel to keep a funnel from leaking, and the next person that went to do an oil change filled it up. Eventually, it went into the timing cover, the timing chain, shoot it up. It all went down into the pan. Suction tube picked it up, causing a clog. I've been running this thing for an hour now. Even after all those metal shavings that we saw. I mean, like I said, we got the oil pan back up in. You know, we're running. We're chugging along. We're fully running. But that is, after I had enough time to think about it, I've seen people do that, where they put a little piece of paper towel in the funnel so that way it doesn't drip on their stuff. And you can forget about it. So, this thing's now been, like I said, for an hour. Just running, purring. I've been revving it. There's no rod knock. I tested the metal that was in that pan. It's aluminum. So my best belief is it was going to be, or it is from the cam journals. I'm sure they're squared up, but this thing on the bottom end, there was no brass, there was no physical steel. So this guy might have gotten very, very lucky. I contacted him. It's like 4 in the morning, so that's why there's like barely any sunlight. But I contacted him, like, before you buy an engine, you might want to just drive this thing. If it's still good after 2 weeks, then you might have been out of the woods. It does need a pickup, oil tube pickup, because I had to rip out the screen to rip out this stuff. So as of right now, it goes straight from the pickup tube to the oil filter and then out to all the journals for the cams and the crank. So right now, this guy is doing all the heavy lifting. Time will tell, but I think I saved this guy a lot of money. We'll know in a few weeks, because really, I've seen another, I believe I had it on one of the videos. Subaru came in with no oil. We topped it off. We fixed the turbo leak. This one doesn't have turbo. We fixed the turbo leak, but then a week later, the engine grenaded. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it sounds pretty damn healthy. And that's that. Crazy. But I've seen it before, and I'm sure I'll see it again. Till the next video.